So my name is Lieutenant Harrington. I am in charge of community risk reduction and public education for the City of Worcester Fire Department. I've been doing this for probably about 8 years. Before that, I was on a truck fighting fires. So just to kind of go over a few things, we're going to talk about fall safety, and we're also going to talk about fire safety. My job is to keep you folks in your homes as long as we possibly can, right? That's our goal in life, is to be able to live a happy, long life in our own home as far as we can go. So, unfortunately, though, we have to be able to talk about a few things and face a few things that we have going on in order to stay in our home. At age 65, older adults are twice as likely to have a fall, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing all the things that we can do to prevent falls. Over 65, we're twice as likely to have a fire in our home as well. So we want to make sure that we can do all sorts of things to prevent fires in our home. And we're going to talk about some of those things as we go through the slides. NFPA puts out a great program, and that's what we're going to follow today. It's Steps to Safety. It used to be the Remembering When program. We partnered with the Senior Center about 10 years ago doing the Remembering When program with NFPA. And we went through the training and we trained on how we can send out all of these fall messages and all of these fire messages so that we can prevent this in our home and stay in our home the longest. So, fire is fast. Fire doubles in size every 30 seconds. Fire grows very, very large. A long time ago, we had all of these great pieces of furniture and everything was cotton. Everything was all natural fibers. But unfortunately now we want things faster, we want things cheaper, so everything now is pretty much made out of polyvinyls and synthetics. And because of that, these fires burn hotter and faster, and they grow bigger, and the smoke is more deadly. So we want to make sure that we can make adaptations so that we can prevent these fires from happening in our home. So there's our old chair, here's our new couch, and there's our new home, right? So we want to make sure we keep these things free from anything that can cause a fire. And we're going to talk about some of those things. Cooking is our #1 cause of fires across this country. We have cooking fires across the country. They're taking lives of people, residents, they're taking lives of firefighters. Cooking fires the numbers are astronomical across the country. But we can prevent cooking fires from happening. We can stand by the pan. We can have a lid ready that in the event that we have a stovetop cooking fire, we can put a lid on it. We know that fire needs 3 things to survive, right? Fire needs oxygen, fire needs fuel, right? And fire needs heat. So we're going to cover the pan and we're going to take away the oxygen. And then we're going to shut the stove off, and that's going to take away the heat. And then if we ever have a stovetop fire, we never want to move the pan. Leave the pan on the stove. Because if we move that pan and feed it some oxygen, it's going to come back fast and furious. And then we'd never want to put it in the sink, because water and grease fires don't mix, right? So we want to make sure that we're not moving it to the sink. 1 drop of water, 1,700 times explosive to this grease. So we never want to put anything wet, water, any kind of liquid on a grease fire, right? What do we put on a grease fire? We can use a couple different things. There's a couple different technologies out there. There's a stovetop canister. It looks like a tuna can. It magnets to the top of the stove. That will give off a dry chemical to put out the fire. It actually smothers it, taking away the oxygen. You can use a fire extinguisher, an ABC fire extinguisher, but realistically, we're not trained to put out fires. Firefighters don't put out fires with extinguishers either. They use a whole bunch of water, right? So, and we have protective clothing in order to fight a fire. So if you have a stove, if you're standing by the pan and you see that black smoke and you're able to turn it down, you're able to cover it, then we're going to prevent the fire from happening. But in the event of a fire, you want to make sure that you have your egresses clear so that you can get outside and call 911. Space heaters, We have space heaters in our home. There's a few things that we need to know about space heaters. Space heaters need space. They need 3 feet all the way around them. 3 feet of space all the way around a space heater. Nothing combustible can be anywhere near that space heater. And then more importantly, or just as importantly, we're going to plug it directly into the wall. We're not going to use an extension cord. We're not going to use anything like that. A space heater needs to be plugged in directly to the wall. Smoking. Improper disposal of smoking materials is a very large cause of fires in the city. We've had quite a few fires over the past few days, some of them being attributed to the improper disposal of smoking materials. Smoking fires are our #1 cause of fire fatalities. So for folks that are dying in fires in their home, a lot of those times it's caused from smoking and improper disposal of smoking materials. So then we have electrical and we have candles. We're going to start with electricity. We don't want to overload our outlets. More than 50% of our homes in Worcester were built prior to 1942. We've changed the way we do electricity twice since then. And so when we open up the walls in our homes, oftentimes we find a mix of 3 different types of wiring in the walls. We find the knob and tube, we find the Romex, we find the BX, we find all sorts of wiring. Some of it's been cut and left in the walls and things like that because of times and upgrades that we need to upgrade. So just remember that now a lot of homes have the breakers. When the breaker goes, that means there's too much power being pulled from that, and we need to figure out what's on that circuit so that we don't keep just resetting the breaker. We want to make sure that we don't overload the outlets, because overloaded electrical outlets can cause 2 fires. Candles are just like space heaters. Candles need space too, but we call it the 12-inch safety circle, so we need 12 inches all the way around a candle. And then we want to make sure that we don't leave the room when the candles are lit, especially if we have animals. Cats like to play with the flickering flame. Dogs run and knock things off the tables. We have all these different crazy animals that are running around the house, and we can even call these little grandkids sometimes crazy animals too, and they can knock over the candle as well. So we want to make sure that we're in the room when the candles are lit, and if we're going to leave the room, make sure that you're blowing the candles out. So here's our fire safety message #1 for smoking. Everybody got the idea that we should smoke outside if we're smoking, right? Well, first and foremost, this is a health safety, so not smoking would be the best idea, right? Then we might live longer and we might be in our homes longer if we're not smoking. But in the event that we do smoke, it is an addiction and we have to recognize that. So you want to make sure that you smoke outside. But when you smoke outside, you need to put the cigarette out every time, all the way. Because if you're leaving it not all the way out, that's what's leading to some of these fires. It gets a little gust of wind, it gets the right amount of oxygen, and it starts, whether it's the mulch or the wooden porches. You see some of the 3-deckers in the city, the fires on the porches. Oftentimes those are caused from improper disposal of smoking materials. That cigarette gets in the crease of the wood, and it smolders there until it has enough oxygen and heat to then expand and cause a fire, losing our means of egress. We want to make sure that we never smoke in bed, right? This is where we fall asleep. The last thing we want to do is fall asleep with cigarettes in our hand. And you never want to smoke if you're using oxygen in your home. Technology is getting great. I went to a conference this weekend. They gave me this device. It shuts off the oxygen, and they're saying that this is safe. But realistically, when we're breathing oxygen and we're on the nasal cannulas, our bodies and our smoke and our clothing are becoming oxygen enriched. So the oxygen is in our clothes. It's not just in that tube. So we want to make sure that we're not smoking if we're using medical oxygen. And then we already talked about the candles. So this is actually the fire safety number 1 through the NFPA Steps to Safety program. So the fire message number 2 is we want to give those space heaters space. What are some items that might be left too close to a space heater? Clothes, robes, sure, rugs, curtains, blankets, yes. The wastebasket, yes. Sometimes we have wicker baskets, right? All these things we need to make sure that we keep away from the space heater, because the space heater needs 3 feet of space. 3 feet. And then when you leave the room, you want to make sure you shut off and unplug the space heater. You want to make sure that under no circumstances it's going to draw electricity or it's going to get bumped and things like that. A lot of the new space heaters do have safety features that when you knock them over, they shut off. But if you're like me, we save things and we use things for a very long time. A lot of those things that we've bought a long time ago don't have all those safety features that they have now. They might work a little better sometimes, but they don't have all those safety features. So you want to make sure that you are very in tune with what your product is that you're using and what its intended use is for. Okay, a space heater is temporary use of heat. It is not to be used all winter. If you need to, kick up the temperature in the room for a minute and keep that on for a couple hours, that's great. Temporary use of heat. It is not to heat your house for the entire winter. And when we talk about heating, the oven is another means that's not meant to heat your home, right? We're not turning on that gas stove and keeping the oven open, right? A lot of people do that, but that's another fire hazard, increasing your risk of fire in the home. And as we know, over 65, it doubles our chances of. Yes.
I know you don't put them on the rug.
Right.
Can you put them on the kitchen tile?
Sure.
Put them on something metal?
Nope. They can be on the floor, and realistically, if you read the manufacturer's recommendation for placement, oftentimes they can be on a carpet. It's just you want to make sure that you read the manufacturer's instructions as to where they can be placed. But more so, it's the circumference around of 3 feet. But we like the non-combustible surface. A kitchen floor is perfectly fine. You don't have to put metal under it. Nope. If you purchase something that's tested, there's 2 testing laboratories. Underwriter Laboratory is the most common one that we see here in the United States. But if you buy something that's been tested, you shouldn't have to add anything or modify it to use it for the intended purpose, right? All right, so we talked about plugging directly into the wall. So our fire message number 3 is staying in the kitchen when you're frying food and cooking on the stovetop. We never want to leave food cooking on the stove unattended. Unattended cooking is our biggest cause of cooking fires. We go take a phone call, we get tired, and oftentimes we're changing medicine, right? Sometimes we're taking new medicine and we don't know how it's going to work in our bodies and we get tired. When we're taking that new medicine and trying it, it's not the time to be frying chicken and French fries and things like that on the stove. We want to see how that medicine works before we go starting to cook something on the stove. I like to leave a little hand towel on my wrist to make sure I remember that, hey, I'm cooking. I should be at the stove, right? So just do something in your mind so that you can stay cooking and you can stay alert, because that's the biggest thing. We need to be there. You all got some new oven mitts, right? Just make sure that you keep those handy so that you can pick up the lids and you're not burning or scalding yourself. Those are some great things to use. And always, always, always keep a lid for the pan that you're cooking on. And if you're like me that have some glass tops of your pans and the kids drop them and then the lids don't fit the pans anymore, right? So we can always use a cookie sheet. A cookie sheet will cover any pan. So if you don't have the right covers to your pans, just make sure that you have a cookie sheet nearby. It's great to put it on the counter so that you're not staining your counters. You can put your spoons on it, and then it's there if you need it to cover the pan to be able to put out the fire. Whoop. So, fire safety message number 4, and this is a tricky one, right? When do we stop, drop, and roll? When our clothes are on fire, right? When our house is on fire, we need to get outside and call 911. But if our clothes are on fire, then this is when we do stop, drop, and roll. And you have to stop, drop, and now the new phase is that you cover your face. And then you roll with your face covered, because your face is very sensitive to fire, and you're more apt to survive if you're covering your airway, right? So you cover your face and you roll back and forth until the fire is out on your clothes. So you want to make sure that if your clothes catch fire and you've stopped, dropped, and roll, that you seek medical attention, right? Because we need medical attention to keep all of those burns clean. The last thing we want to do is get an infection, right? So just make sure that we're seeking medical attention if we end up with our clothes on fire. Fire message number 5 is smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms. Smoke alarms now, photoelectric technology. 2 types of technology. Back then we used ionization. That was great for those cotton fiber fires. Now that everything's polyvinyls and synthetics, we've moved to photoelectric technology. It's just a technology that picks up that dark smoke sooner. You want to make sure that you have a smoke alarm. If you can, it all depends on when your house was built. But you want to make sure that a smoke alarm is outside your bedroom and on every level of the house, right? Or if you're not sleeping in the bedroom and you're sleeping in the living room, or you've had to sleep now on the first floor instead of making the stairs, you want to make sure you have a smoke alarm right outside your sleeping area. And it's the same thing with carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is now a law because we had a little girl at the Cape. Her dad was outside shoveling. The snow blocked the vents, filled her home with carbon monoxide. When he came in, the little girl was dead of carbon monoxide poisoning. So now we have a law. All things come good when we have something bad happen. We always try to make something good. So we have this law that all homes need carbon monoxide alarms. So we have carbon monoxide alarms outside of our sleeping areas and on every level of our home. You want to make sure that your smoke alarms are less than 10 years old. Raise your hand if you've had a home visit by the fire department and installed alarms. Awesome. So in the event that you need a smoke alarm or a CO alarm, or if you need a home visit, inside your oven mitt is a flyer with our phone number on it. We will come to your home and do a home safety visit. We will go over all of these fire prevention messages. We will go over all of these fall prevention messages, and we will do that. And then if we need smoke alarms and CO alarms, we can put those up as well. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about the alarms. The alarms make noise. A smoke alarm will beep 3 times. A carbon monoxide alarm will beep 4 times. In the event that the alarms go off, you should get outside and call 911. Carbon monoxide is an odorless, tasteless, deadly gas. You can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't taste it, but it's deadly. Don't go opening the windows, solving the problems, because when we get there, we're going to take a meter and try to find the source of the carbon monoxide. So just get outside and call 911, and we'll come with some meters and figure out the source of carbon monoxide. If the smoke alarms go off, we don't need to wait for the smoke to be so banked down that we can't breathe and find our exits. We want to get outside very quickly. So the smoke alarm goes off, you should know 2 ways out of your home, or 2 ways out of CVS, or 2 ways out of Walmart, or 2 ways out of the hotel you're in, or 2 ways out of your kid's home. Everywhere you go, 2 ways out, right? So that way there you can get to the easiest exit in the event that the alarms go off. We should be testing our alarms. How many test their alarms? Well, when you go home and test them today and they're not working, then you can call us and we'll come fix them. And if they need to be replaced, we'll do that as well. But you should be testing your alarm. If you go to the pharmacy and you pick up a prescription every month, then come home that day and check your alarm. So that'll be the way you can remember to check your alarm. If you go to visit somebody once a month, or if you go to have lunch with somebody once a month, that could be a way to remember to check the alarm. You just want to make sure that you're exercising those smoke alarms and the CO alarms so that you know that they're working when they need to. So they do have some great technology out there for people that are deaf and hard of hearing. They have some bed shakers. They have strobe lights. They have all of this technology that we can assist in tie into the smoke alarm so that when the smoke alarm goes off and you're sleeping and you've taken out the hearing aids, or if you're deaf and you just can't hear, regardless if you're awake or asleep, it will shake the bed and wake you up. And then you'll be able to see the strobe lights that are tied into to be able to start your egress, your exit out of the home. So fire safety number 6, plan and practice your escape from fire. You want to practice your fire drill. We do fire drills in the schools every single year, 4 times while the kids are in school. But kids aren't dying in schools. And they're not, because a long time ago we had a fire at Our Lady of the Angels School and we lost a lot of kids. Not the Our Lady of the Angels here in Worcester, but another school called the same thing. We lost a lot of kids, and because of that, all the schools now are sprinkled. They have a sprinkler system, which is great. It's a life safety measure. But we don't have that a lot of us don't have that luxury in our homes. So you want to be able to practice your escape plan, and you want to practice your way out. So, does anybody have an escape plan? Does anybody know which way they're going out? So when you go home, you got to figure out what the easiest way out is, especially from the comfy chair that you like to sit in. You want to make sure you can find the easy way out for that. So this gentleman in the top, that's Stan Barnes. He's from Michigan. I met him out in Little Rock, Arkansas at a fire convention. He has taught this program, and this is a new series of the program. He took part in helping make this. But this is if you get stuck in your bedroom. If there's a fire in your home and you can't get out the bedroom because your means is blocked by fire, you're going to shut the door. You're going to put something in front of the bottom of the door so that the smoke doesn't billow in. And then you're going to call 911 if you have the phone with you. And if you can get to a window, we call it, when we teach the kids, a fire safety flag. You want to wave something out the window bigger than your hand. A pillowcase, a sheet, or something. Wave it out the window so that when we get there, we can help you. It's great to be in the city. We can usually get anywhere in the city in less than 4 minutes. So we're responding pretty quickly. So if you're at that window and we get there and we do a 360, we go around the building, we can see you right away because you have your flag going in the window. So just make sure that you have a plan and you have something that you can wave out the window. But it's always great to plan ahead and have your cell phone at the bedside. Have your cell phone somewhere that you'd be able to call in the event that you can't escape this room. Fire message number 7 is knowing your emergency phone number. It's easy to call 911. Sometimes from the cell phone, we do get directed to the state police or things like that. It's great also to know your non-emergency numbers for the fire department and for important agencies throughout the city. If you have an emergency that you need poison control, those are types of numbers that you want to have handy to be able to call. So it's important to escape first before you call, right? Why is that important? Because we want to live, right? We just talked about how fast fire grows, right? We don't want to be stuck in where that fire is growing too fast that it's blocked our egress. So we want to make sure that we get outside before we call 911. And so if you have impaired abilities to get out, if you can't easily make the stairs or it takes a little bit longer to do that, you need to have a plan. So we did a fire drill in my home in the middle of the night, and one of my kids doesn't wake up to the smoke alarm. So now we have to have a plan where one of her siblings gets to hit and kick her for the first time to make it okay so that she wakes up to get outside. So we need to have a plan to make sure that when the smoke alarm goes off, we can get outside. And so with some of these impaired abilities, it's a little bit more difficult. So it's better to have a plan A and a plan B for that. And then there's just some helpful tips about what you should keep at the nightstand. A flashlight, your glasses if you need them, a walker or a cane. However you get around, you want to be able to get around from the bedside. So, anybody want to tell me something they want to leave at their bedside? A phone, sure. The flashlight, the glasses, we need those. You have a to-go bag. That's awesome. Awesome. A lantern. Oh, a ladder. All right. I'm gonna tell you something. You just brought up a great point, right? He's talking about the fire safety ladders that you throw out the window, right? Okay. How many can climb, right? So I can tell you this, it's a very stressful situation to have a fire. You're putting that out the window. You now have to climb over the windowsill onto that ladder and hope your feet get on the rung, right? And then you have to be able to climb down that ladder at an angle like this, when actual reality optimal climbing angle of a ladder is like this. So basically, you're holding up your whole body weight trying to climb down. So unless you're this magician of a gymnast, strong bodybuilding kind of person, it's not going to be an ideal situation to be doing that. And so we need to practice these things because we're practicing our escape, and it's not the greatest thing to practice from the third floor ladder either, right? A lot of times they're secured on the floor, and then you could just put them out. Sometimes they fit in the windowsill, and they just, by the windowsill is what's holding them out. If that's going to be the last resort measure, I would pay attention to maybe putting it on the first floor and seeing if you can get over the windowsill first. Because we need to practice this, but we don't want to be practicing things and putting ourselves in jeopardy. But I can tell you that if you have a working smoke alarm and a practiced escape plan, you're going to nearly double your chances of surviving, right? We're going to survive if we have a plan. The smoke alarms work, we get early detection, and we get outside. If we're rummaging around looking for things and causing our delay, then that's going to cause our own demise too. So you want to just make sure when the alarm goes off, you get out and get anything that you need in the path of getting out. We don't want to be going to look for things. So I don't suggest the ladder if we can't do that.
What are you supposed to do if you live in a high-rise building and the fire alarm goes off, but you don't know if it's a real fire or not? Are you supposed to just always go down because the fire alarm goes off quite a bit?
Sure. The fire alarm goes off in a high-rise quite a bit, and a lot of times it's not a fire, right? When we get there, we can oftentimes these high-rises have a PA system, and we can talk into the PA system when we get there to say everything is fine. My suggestion always is we make our way out. If it just means that we make our way to the stairwell, then we wait in the stairwell, that's fine because it's an area of refuge and we are able to get down if we need to. But if you just open the door and say, oh yeah, nothing's wrong, and then you shut your door, and then the fire comes through the HVAC system or some other means of getting through there, you could then open your hallway door and be filled with black, hot, deadly smoke. So if the alarm goes off, that means realistically something set that alarm off. If it's burnt food, if it's something else, that's the problem. But we want to get out and stay out every time. But I will give you this one tip of living in a high-rise. If you burn food and your alarm in your own apartment is going off, don't open the hallway door. Because if you open the hallway door, all the alarms are going to go off. So if you keep it closed, open the window to vent it out, and you're safe, that's the best way to do it. So that way we're trying to prevent some of those, times of stress where people are trying to get down the stairs, and accidents and falls can happen. So, but I will never not say, get outside. Because in the event of a smoke alarm, we want to get out and stay out. And we train our brains to do that. If you wait in your home and then you go visit somebody and you stay in their home and it's not a high-rise and you're training your brain to stay there, it may happen in somebody else's home or in somebody else's place. That's why we always say, the alarm goes off, get out and stay out. I'm just going to go through a couple more and then we'll have some questions, okay? So we're going to review the safest way to prevent fires if you smoke. Putting it out all the way every time. Some items that we just talked about near the bedside, the glasses, the phone, some water, any items that you need to assist in walking and mobility. And then you want to share a tip to remind you to turn the heaters off when you leave the room, right? If we can just get in the habit of making sure that the heater is maybe close to the egress so that we can get out and make sure that we shut that space heater off when we leave the room, but we don't want to leave the space heaters in the room. And then preventing a cooking fire, if we're alert at the stove, standing by the pan, standing by the stove, making sure that we're paying attention. All right, now we're going to prevent a fall. 1 in 3 older adults will have a fall, sending 1 in 17 to the hospital, right? And as a senior, I still have my parents and a 94-year-old grandmother who drives. So you want to make sure that you don't fall, because we know 1 in 17 goes into the hospital, and what happens when we go there? Oftentimes we don't come home. We end up somewhere else. So we want to prevent that fall from happening so that we don't end up being one of those that go to the hospital and don't come home, right? So the first fall doubles your chances of a second fall. So if you fall once, now your chances that you're going to fall again are doubled. So here's your first fall. You have this fear of falling. You slowly decrease your activity. You decrease your muscle tone coordination, and now you're at a higher risk of falling again, right? So we want to make sure that we're preventing falls. So now we're going to go over some fall safety messages from NFPA's Steps to Safety. We want to exercise regularly, right? When we're sitting in front of the TV, we can make, our arms go, we can make our legs go. We did it during COVID, right? We sat and we watched these TV and the senior center did some great exercise videos. We exercised at home sitting on the couch. We exercise, if you just get up and walk back and forth a few times, you're moving, you're exercising. You want to keep that going. Tai Chi is an exercise that's proven to help reduce fall risks. There's a program out there called Nimble. You can download an app for Nimble, and it exercises your brain and it builds your core strength to, again, reduce the risk of falls. So you just want to make sure that you ask your doctor the best exercise for you. Just because somebody may be able to go out and walk the track may not be for everybody. So you want to make sure that the exercise that you're going to do is best suited for your own health. So what are some things you've heard regarding exercises and what it does for older adults? What have you heard about exercising? Is it good? It's good. It keeps you sharp. Excellent. What else? It keeps the blood flowing, right? And it keeps our blood healthy. It allows us to be able to, your brain. It allows us to be able to heal faster if something happens. If our blood is circulating good and everything is healthy, our muscle tone is good. Excellent. So, we need to take our time, right? My generation, everybody's in a hurry, right? But we need to slow down. We need to take our time. We need to take our time to get out of the chair. And if you're laying down and you sit up, you need to take the time and let your brain settle so that we're not a little bit unsteady. You sit up, you kind of even out a little bit, and then you go to stand up, and you might have to stop for a second to slow yourself down, get your bearings. We say, the sea legs. You want to make sure you're sturdy before you take those steps. So you're going to stand and get your balance before you walk, and you want to be aware of your surroundings. Animals oftentimes will run between our feet, so be careful of the small little pets, but also be careful of things that we've put somewhere. We come in with a couple bags of groceries and we need to put a bag down, or we've gone shopping and we put a bag down and we forget we put it there. So you want to make sure that you're aware of what's in your surroundings before you're taking those steps. What's the strangest thing that you've tripped over in your house? Anybody trip over something strange? A small dog. Your own feet. That's a good one. Oh, we're getting there. Go ahead. A baby bottle. Baby bottles, dog animal toys, the little balls that they throw in the dog fetches. All of those things are very, very hazardous to tripping. Legos are bad to step on, right? Ooh. So we want to take a great trip like this. We don't want to take a trip like that, right? So just think about all these steps to safety, and this is just a reminder where the program comes from. NFPA has a website, the Department of Fire Services. You can log on to the Mass Department of Fire Services, and it takes you to a whole bunch of resources. NFPA is one of them. All right, fall message number 3, keeping your stairs, pathways, and walking areas clear. Okay, we've lived in our home for 50 years. How much stuff do we have? So we find a new aisle, a new path that we can stack it up, right? Oh my goodness. And then we need to, make this path clear, so we'll take this and move it over here, and pretty soon we've blocked an egress. Pretty soon we've blocked a way out. You want to make sure that anything in your home doesn't block your egress, and it doesn't block your paths to get outside. You want to make sure that it's free and clear. Shoes on the stairs in my house is treacherous. The kids dump their shoes on the stairs, they fall off the railing, and you go to step in at nighttime and the shoes are on the stairs. You want to make sure you keep your paths free and clear. Books and magazines that are on the coffee table sometimes slip off. That makes a big slip hazard, right? You step on a magazine and boy, you go. Plants, tables, things that stick out. Everybody bumps their hip on things like that. That can cause us unsteadiness too. So you want to make sure that everything that you know and you're aware of in your home walking. So what can you do to keep your stairs clean? Don't use it as storage. What was it? Yes, put stuff away, right? Sometimes we're a little bit tired and we need to wait till the next day, but you want to make sure you're on top of things. You want to put stuff away. If it needs to wait a little bit, you take a rest, and then come back and make sure that you're putting it away. Awesome. Who can help you with this? Your family. Awesome. Everybody. Some of us have home health care aides. Some of us have, CNAs, visiting nurses, all those kind of things. All those people can help you keep your stairs and your paths clean. So when you're going up and down the stairs, you want to make sure that you have your hand on the railing. These are our fall safety messages. You're using the handrail up the stairs, and you're using the handrail down the stairs. Oftentimes, the handrail is only on one side of the stairs. So that means our good hand, everybody has the good hand and the not so strong side. You want to make sure that you're trying to use the good hand or the strong side on the hand railing, both up and down. So if you have two railings, that's great. But if not, we have to slow down and take our time going down the stairs. We have stairs like this. In the event of fire, and you can't see because there's too much smoke, you get down on your hands and knees and go down the stairs backwards. Your feet first, down the stairs, okay? Because that way there, if you slip, you're just laying on the stairs. And we're not going head first down the stairs. So in the event that you can't see because the smoke is so heavy in your house, you want to make sure that you get on your hands and knees and go backwards down the stairs. And when we're carrying in the groceries, don't try to carry all the bags just to make one trip. It's okay to exercise and make 2 trips. Or bring in the cold stuff first and put it in the freezer and sit down and take a rest and then go back out and get the next bag. We can't be loading up our arms with bags and bags of groceries just to make one trip, right? We want to make more trips with lighter loads. You want to make sure that the lighting in and around your house and your pathways out are well lit, especially at nighttime when we shut all the lights off and we need to go to the bathroom. We need that path lit so that we're not tripping over things, we're not falling. We want to make sure that it's lit up. So, fall message number 4 is improving your lights inside and outside your home. You want to use the night lights in the path between the bedroom and the bathroom. You want to make sure that the stairways are lit up so that you can see every step to see what we forgot to put away. Make sure your handrails are installed on both sides of the stairs, and make sure we have our eyes checked, right? We say we hit 40 and our eyes start to go, you hit 50 and then you might want to get glasses, and then you hit 60 and it's like, okay, I have to do this. You want to make sure that you get your eyes checked so that you have the right glasses for what you need. You know, the cheaters are great for reading, but they're not great for what we need to actually function and see when we're walking and trying to prevent falls. So just kind of keep that in mind, that we're making sure we're seeing the right doctors for the right things. Most of these night lights have sensors so that when you walk by them or it gets dark, they automatically come on, which is great. Fall message number 5 is the slip mats in the shower. Make sure that you have something in the shower that's not going to make you slip and fall in the shower. They have grab bars that you can have installed, and if you spill something, you want to make sure that you wipe it up immediately. We don't want to create hazards for our own self just simply by not picking something else up. So just make sure that when you check even the throw rugs are a big slip hazard. You know, the rugs slide and things like that. You want to make sure that they're no slip and they have that rubber bottom so that they stick to the floor and you're not slipping and sliding when you're stepping on them. So what kinds of things have you done to improve safety in the bathroom? Grab bars. Awesome. Oh, a walk-in shower. That's helpful. A safety seat. Yeah, sometimes we need to sit, especially in the shower. Sometimes if we're taking a long shower, we need to sit down. That's awesome. Sometimes we can add things to the toilets to make them a little bit higher, or, you know, things like that, so that it's not whoa and then you fall. Toilet rails, yeah. Oh, a transfer bench. I like that. In and out of the tub so that way you don't fall and you don't have to do that. I like that one. Awesome. So fall message number 6. We want to beware of uneven surfaces. Oftentimes they paint that step yellow and we still miss it, right? I don't know what brighter color they can paint it, but oftentimes we still miss that step, especially when the lighting is poor and we're not paying attention where we're walking. So you want to just make sure that we're aware of uneven surfaces. A lot of times between your living room and the kitchen, there's a threshold, right? That little hump. Especially when we're pushing a walker, it's not so easy and you got to lift the walker over the hump. So just kind of keep those in mind. We want to make sure that we're paying attention to those. The sidewalks, you know, sometimes the city's, you know, a little bit behind on a pothole in the sidewalk. or, right? And in the winters that we have, we can't control it, right? The cold and the hot and the cold and the hot, we create potholes everywhere just by living in New England, right? So we got to try to keep up with those, and if you find them, you can report them to the city, and they'll fill them. But in the event that we're walking on the sidewalks, we want to make sure that we're paying attention where we're walking. Sometimes it's just in a little bit of a grade where they laid one concrete block to the next one. So you just want to pay attention to that. You want to make sure in the icy winters that we're paying attention and putting down sand and salt so that we don't slip on the ice. All right, any way of making the flooring safer at home? What can we do to make the floors safer at home? What is it? Don't wax them. Yes, we don't want wax. The rugs need a rubber back for sure, so that we're not slipping on the rugs. Yep. Watch the cords. We don't want all these cords running around the house, right? But we're not going to have extension cords running everywhere anyways, because extension cords are only supposed to be temporary, and we use extension cords when we're using the product that it's plugged into, and then we unplug it and we remove it from our path, right? Excellent. Huh? Dry the floors. Yes, we don't want wet spots. You put your cup in the water and the water comes out of the refrigerator on the floor. You want to make sure those spots get dried up. Or if you're walking and you spill something out of a cup, you want to make sure that those get dry. Excellent. So, fall message number 7 is wearing sturdy, well-fitted shoes. Very, very important. A lot of folks like wearing a lot of different kinds of shoes. My kids wear slides, they wear Crocs, they wear all these sorts of nice-looking shoes. Some of them are not ideal for walking. Some of them are not ideal for not slipping and things like that. So we want to make sure that we have a good solid shoe that we're walking with so that we don't fall. Sometimes the shoe comes untied. We got to pay attention to that too. But you want to make sure that the non-slip soles are on the bottoms. Safer than high heels. I'm not sure that we're in the generation of high heels. The more I look at kids these days, we're lucky if they have shoes on. But slippers and shoes and bare feet and stocking feet, those are all slippery. You put socks on that don't have the rubber bottoms, very, very slippery, especially on hardwood or tile floor. So, what are things that you can do to keep yourself safe while you're walking?
Wear shoes that don't have laces.
Always look where you're going. Wearing shoes without laces, sure. What else can we do? Tie your shoes, sure. Take your time. Back to that other one. Excellent, excellent. Anything else? Yes, wear sunglasses in the bright. Oh, yes, we need proper lighting in the house. Yes. What's the worst thing that can happen if you don't wear safe shoes? You fall. And then you end up with maybe a broken hip, right? And then we end up going where? And then we've just increased our chances of falling a second time, right? And then we've also increased our chances of not coming back home, which is what we're trying to prevent, right? All of these things that we've had here, all these speakers that you've had so far, are wellness, trying to keep ourselves well, right? Trying to keep ourselves safe, trying to keep ourselves in our homes as long as we possibly can. So, here's the new addition to this program. You want to have a list of medications handy, right? Who has a file of life? A file of life. It's a piece of paper in a red sleeve that usually goes on the refrigerator. It used to be the vial of life, and it used to be in a medicine bottle in the refrigerator. But now they've moved to a piece of paper on the refrigerator on a magnet. Oh, she's got one. Awesome. They gave. Oh, you got a bigger one? Awesome. So here's what the file of life looks like, huh? So she's got one in the glove compartment on her car and on the refrigerator. These are all great places to have them. Sure. So in the event that you get a file of life, you want to sit down and fill it out. I suggest filling it out with somebody else because I can't remember yesterday what I went to the doctors and they said X, Y, and Z. But if somebody else is helping you, they can remind you of things. You can go over things. You can look things up and do things like that and make sure it's filled out completely. Oftentimes, anybody visiting, I know they have people here that can help you fill those out. So it's a file of life. It gives you a list of the medications that you're on. It gives you a list of your doctors. It's just some personal health information all in one little pocket so that in the event that we respond to you for a first responder, if you've had a medical emergency in your home, we can grab that and look up and see everything about you. It will have allergies to medication so that in the event that you need medicine and the ambulance is going to administer it, they'll be able to see that you can have something or you can't have something. And you're right. There often is a box at the bottom for a DNR if you want a do not resuscitate option on there too. All of those things can go in that little folder so that in the event that you have to get transported, unfortunately, by an ambulance, they'll be able to grab that. They'll be able to see who your doctors are. They'll be able to give that to the emergency medical team, and they'll be able to better care for you quicker because they'll know more about you. And you can add emergency contacts to that. So that way there, in the event that we have to go there for, a check on the welfare and we can't really wake you up a little bit, we can call somebody that can help us get you some more information and can meet us at the hospital and get you there. Did you have a question? Okay. So you want to review all your medicines with your doctor. We talked about being able to take some new meds and decide if it's going to make us sleepy or not. It happens, and we're changing meds all the time. So you want to make sure you're going to find out what the side effects to those are. How is it going to impact your balance? Is it going to allow you to keep doing the same exercises you were doing? Is it going to allow you to be able to walk and things like that? There are some medications, and we have to talk about everything, that get interfered with by the use of alcohol. Alcohol sometimes enhances the effects of medication. So you want to talk about those things with the doctors, especially if you're trying new medication. Is it okay to have a glass of wine or a beer or a drink? Is it okay to have any of these drinks with the medication that you're taking? Oftentimes there's some medications that you cannot have any alcohol at all. So you want to make sure that you're discussing those with the doctor so that way there you don't have some rare side effects leading to a medical emergency. And you want to take your medications as directed. If the medication says take one every morning, we're taking one every morning. In the event that you don't feel well, it may not be the medication. That's why we call the doctor and say, hey, I don't feel well. It might not be the fact that you took the medicine, but if you don't take it, it can lead to more problems. So you want to make sure that you're taking the medication as directed. You don't want to self-diagnose and say, hey, my blood pressure feels too high today. Let's take some more blood pressure meds, right? And I can see everybody laughing because it happens, but you want to be very strict in how you take your medicine. You want to make sure that you're following the doctor's directions. Who has a life safety alert button? Who has, anybody have one? Awesome, awesome. So these, a medical alert device, if you live alone or, if you have a need that you might not be able to get to a phone if you fall or if you're unable to ambulate very easily, these medical alert devices are very helpful. There is a monthly subscription to some of them. They're wearable. You can wear them around your neck. Some of them look like a watch. Oh, yours goes all around the world? Oh, I like that. So hers isn't tied to the home and tied to the little base. Hers can go anywhere. So that one has, you know, some sort of Wi-Fi device in it. That's how great technology is becoming. But if you push that emergency button, you're going to get emergency help. Even if you can't talk, if you can push that button, we will come and we will check on you, regardless if you've answered the call or not. We're going to come in and check on you. So, any questions about fall messages? We're going to name one change you can make in your home to reduce the risk of falling. What can we change in your home? Take out the throw rugs. I like it. If it doesn't have the backing, you can Velcro it to the floor. Sometimes we need them for the cushion of our feet, sure. So, I mean, he would like something in his apartment building because most of the folks in there are approaching the golden ages. So he would like something to say, yes, we're home and yes, we're not. So in the event of emergency, we can actually go and do that. A lot of times I work with a lot of the elderly high-rises, a lot of the elderly properties, and in the lockbox, which is a black box right at the front door, there's a set of keys in there. It's a master keys. We have a list in there that says who needs assistance and who needs extra help in getting out. And we try to assist those people first. So we do try to make that list updated. So if anybody is in a multi-story or a high-rise, and you get a form that says, hey, do you need assistance getting out or being able to get out, fill out that form. Don't just throw it in the trash with the rest of the things they send you. You want to make sure you fill that out because that's really so that we can help you before we go having to search for things. So, regular exercising reduces one's own risk of being injured from a fall. If we're exercising on a regular basis, we're going to reduce our injuries in case of a fall. And fall prevention program is targeted at folks over 65 because we have a higher risk of falling.